Hello, Love Squad. My name is Kim, aka Glam Powered, and I am an instant Lovecraft stan. Like from episode 1, I have been talking to everybody about this series. I was just like instant favorite, okay? And I am a content junkie. But for me to pick a favorite so quickly like that, I only have one other current favorite at the moment. Like, yeah, I knew that this was going to be a thing, and my creative juices began to flow again. I haven't done any videos in a good 6 months, so I'm so happy. I'm like, okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to have fun and just talk about the series, talk about the show, the book. I'm so excited, okay? So creativity is such a wonderful thing, and I was just inspired to return to the world of content creation by doing commentary and reacting to this series, which is written by Matt Ruff, who was inspired by American horror writer H.P. Lovecraft. So Lovecraft is an actual writer, you guys. Yeah, he's real. And this is a whole new world to me. Never heard of it. I saw the preview on YouTube and I was like, I'm watching it. And then the rest is history. I have notes. I have a script, which I am reading now, but I'm kind of making it organic as I go along. Okay. But I do want you to know that I know nothing. I'm learning as I go along, as I suspect most of us are, okay? So we're just going to be going on this journey together. I'm having fun. I'm so excited and energized. So first, I wanted to take a moment to explain how I organize my commentary and notes so that you'll understand what to expect. I think there are 10 or 11 episodes in this season, if I recall. So yeah. It's going to be something like this. I have a template. I'm a teacher by trade, so I'm a template queen, y'all. I got templates for everything in my life. So I made a template for this. So let's go over like the different sections or categories. We'll be discussing people, concepts, and I have mad concepts. Like, I'm not going to do all of them, but when I was first creating my notes, I must have fleshed out at least 20 concepts. We're not doing all of that. Don't worry. I'm not trying to scare you, but I will have all of the concepts on my Instagram at Glam Powered if you're interested, and just seeing, because I'm like a very intuitive TV watcher. I'll be thinking about all this deep stuff. I'll be going underneath what's actually being seen or portrayed and like getting into the core, the meat of it, not just the standard plot lines and all that stuff. That's how I enjoy my television and books and things of that nature. So anyways, we have people, we have concepts, context, which I think is important, especially for historical stories like this. Of course, I have to feature my favorite scene. And like I told you, I'm a very intuitive TV content watcher. So I will be doing a prediction, okay? And questions. We all have questions like what's going to happen next, who this, who that, right? And little tidbits, little factoids to just give you a little bit more to chew on, a little bit more to snack on, okay? So that is the template. Let's get into it. Now my notes I'm following the template that I just outlined, but the commentary within each category isn't in any particular order. It's very, what's that word? I just wrote what came to me as it came to me. I didn't organize it, I can't think of the right word right now, but y'all know what I'm talking about. It's free form, if you will. So anyways, let's get into it. First, we're going to start with the people. Okay. So who's who? Okay. The main characters. I'm just focusing on the core family. Okay. Who are the Freemans. So we have, Atticus, George, Montrose, Hippolyta, and I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I'll get it right eventually. Okay. Dora, and I believe Diana. Okay. And I'm recording this first and then I'm putting the pictures up to match. So I'll make sure all of this correlates and makes sense in a minute. But anyways, this is the main family. There are other characters. Okay. There are other characters, but this is their story. This is about them. Okay. The Freemans. So that's who. Now, I did want to give you guys a little bit more details in terms of the meaning or significance of some of the names. Okay. I don't think I talked about Leticia, who is not a Freeman, but she's a friend of Atticus or Tick. Okay. And I wanted to talk about the meaning of her name. So her name means joy or gladness. And I thought that was so appropriate. When you think about the character herself, her energy, her vibe, you know, she's this very free flowing, fun loving character. While everyone else around her is like, you have to be serious and grow up and be more structured. She's like, no, she's very free spirited. So I thought that was an appropriate name. I think the names might even have more resonance or significance as we go along. Atticus, which means belong to Athens, okay? Atticus belonged to Athens. And if you think about that, this story is about history, lineage, birthright, all these things. And for him to have that name, it's like symbolic of him belonging to something great and also something of the old world, not of the new world. So I thought that was interesting. And of course, Hippolyta, like that name was super interesting to me. So I was like, what? Who is that? So Hippolyta was the daughter of Ares, okay? Queen of the Amazon, okay? Respect. Queen, okay? Keyword there being queen, strong woman, leadership, greatness, all of these things. So I thought that those names were interesting, and I did want to just, you know, highlight their meaning and significance because I think that they're relevant to the characters, and also we might see more of those qualities or characteristics displayed by the characters or demonstrated by them as we progress with the series. So next we have concepts. I'm only doing a handful, like I said, but for the full list of my concepts and just my little commentary, you can definitely find me on Instagram at GlamPowered. So first, I mean, we started with mature, black, love. Shout out to Courtney B. Vance. Oh my God. I call him the OG Zaddy. Okay. Because he is. If you don't know this man, he is a veteran. He is also Angela Bassett's husband, by the way. Okay. To catch a queen like that, he must be fired. And I really admire him. I admire his portrayal of the characters that he plays. He's real soulful and rich. And I just love this demonstration. I feel like this demonstration of mature black love just wasn't really something that I've seen demonstrated in this way. I felt like it was something that I was low-key kind of starved for, and it was just so beautiful. We always see, you know, black love, romance, and hardship stories, you know? I'm like, no, this is a functional, loving, nurturing, healthy, happy, relatively normal, because there's no such thing as normal, honey. There was no such thing, but relatively normal family and a normal couple, and I just loved it. I loved it. And I love seeing this black man love on his black wife. Okay. I loved it. And I felt nourished and enriched. And it's no shade to anybody else or anything else. I'm just specifically speaking to this particular story and this particular expression. Like, I loved seeing it. I loved seeing it. It was beautiful. All right. Then I wanted to get into juxtapositions because there are a lot of juxtapositions. There was juxtapositions with the music, Everybody Talking Like Me, that song now, like Everybody Talking Like Me Now, that song. I don't even know, girl. Don't ask me. I'm an older millennial, so I'm starting to like not know all the artist names these days. But anyways, I was like, okay, this is set in the 1950s, but that is clearly hip hop. and it worked. It worked. It worked. It wasn't jarring, but I was just like, that's an interesting juxtaposition right there, right? And it's just like a nod to the culture, right? We're out here living our best lives in spite of everything that's happening during this time, and y'all still biting. Like, I loved it. And then we have the concept of realities. So realities being real versus make-believe, the American dream versus the American reality, of course, the racial disparities. I also wanted to talk about the juxtaposition of beauty. There are different types of beauty, different types of Black beauty being demonstrated. And of course, this is a diverse cast, so just different types of beauty in general. But I really want to say one thing that I really appreciated about this series, just from episode 1, was just the care, thoughtfulness, and mindfulness that I thought was given to each individual character. Sometimes I feel like beauty gets generalized in series and in cinema and in film, and they did not do that here. It's a very individualized thing, and I love that because it's like that in real life. You know, Black beauty is an overall concept, but it's also a very unique, specific concept. And that really resonated with me. And I have to say, I have never seen that portrayed before in a series. I have never seen that. And if you take a moment, especially if you're a Black person in particular, you probably know what I'm talking about and can identify with that. And I was just like, wow, okay, this is really interesting. Next, we have the hair and makeup, which is an extension of beauty. But I was just like, the costumes, you guys, oh my God, I love all of it. And I even have the men looking beautiful. Courtney B. Vance, like there was one scene, I think he was like in bed or something, or up and like sitting up, and you could just see like his brows and everything. Everything was done in a way that the brown in his eyes were highlighted. And I was just like, oh my God, he looks so beautiful. Like I hadn't seen that version of him before. So I just really love the thoughtfulness. And I have kind of a keen eye, I guess, for this type of thing. And I noticed that. I was just like, dang, like which detail-oriented team did this makeup? They thought about everything, okay? And I love masculine beauty. We try to separate it in our culture, and it doesn't necessarily have to be. You can still be air quotes, a man's man, but be beautiful at the same time. And I think that they did a really good job with that, okay? And shout out to Tick's physique. Yo, the whole outline. That was one thing I was like, you know what? Let me get a stencil and just outline. Like his whole physique is perfect for the time period, but it's also just great. I just really love his physical presence. All right. And then the last thing, this concept of people still trying to hold on to the normal, even doing utter freaking chaos. Spoiler alert. If you haven't watched it, okay, I'm about to say something. So I'm just telling you, don't get mad. You should watch it first before you listen to this. I should have said that at the beginning, but listen. Listen, we got time. Even doing utter chaos, it's like, for example, monsters don't exist, right? And then when they're trying to drive away, I think it's George, if I'm not mistaken. He's like, Letitia, let me drive. Yeah, I think that was when they were trying to get away from the KKK people at the diner, those people. So it was just like, wait, what? Like you're still trying to hold on to this. Let it go. At the end of the day, honey, this is the Matrix. Okay, that's the undercurrent of the story. This is a Matrix. None of that stuff actually matters. It matters from a functional standpoint. We have all these rules and guidelines in place because, structure is helpful in that way. But honey, push come to shove, when all hell breaks loose, all that stuff goes out the window. It is not real, and it does not matter. I think people try to hold on to dear life for that, or I should say to that sense of reality, whatever their sense of reality is, because it's comforting, and we need to have some level of control, because really things are out of control, which is relative to the times that we're in right now. Like, how much control do you actually have, right? That's a question that's being posed through in the story, right? That's one of the questions that's being posed. And it's so interesting to see that demonstrated and presented in different ways in this episode. All right. Next, let's get into context a little bit. You know, this is a historical series, it's historical fiction, but I do think it helps for you to have a little bit of an understanding of what's happening and also like what's happening in general in the story, right? So who, what, when, where, why, more or less. Okay, so let's start with the what. What are they doing? Okay, and this would be the Freemans and Leticia. What are they doing? They are essentially creating a green book. If you guys haven't seen that or you don't know what that is, there is a movie called Green Book. Check it out. But Green Books, I should say, this was a travel guide designed for Black travelers who wanted to travel safely and wanted to drive safely and just needed to know where to go. You know, it was interesting because I was having a conversation with my father. Yes, I was even talking to my daddy about this. Not the whole series, but I told him like, oh, because we were driving somewhere and he was telling me about some experience where he had to take a road trip. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Green Book. He said he had a Green Book experience with AAA. They were like, listen, because they mapped, this was back in the day. They had mapped out his trip. He was driving from California to Florida, and they were like, so y'all can't go through, do not stop, I should say. Do not stop in this town. Just don't even stop. Just drive straight through. Okay, so even back then, they was green booking. I mean, even as recently as the 90s, because this had to have been, oh, actually, let me think about that. Maybe the 70s. Or the 80s. I'm thinking about my time period, but no, this was my older brother. So it would have been like the 70s or the 80s for him when they did this road trip. Yeah. Okay, and he was saying it. He was basically, it was a Letty and Atticus situation. His lady at the time was fair skinned. She was Black but fair skinned. She could pass for white. And my daddy is dark and chocolate and lovely. Okay, so you know that could have been a problem. You know, even as recently as that time period, right? So same stuff, different day. Same stuff, different day happening. Anyways, they were going out and making sure that everything that they were pointing out or referencing to or referring to in the Green Book was accurate, because you have to do that. This is people's safety, right? You can't be sending people to the hands of the KKK. You need to know that it's okay for a person to stay here, for a person to eat here. And also, where are the danger zones? Where are the sundown towns? This episode is called Sundown, right? So if you don't know what those are towns that still exist, by the way. These are towns where Black folks know not to be when the sun goes down. Okay, like very racist, very much we will kill you, hurt you, harm you as soon as the sun goes down because we're going to do this because we can type of thing. Okay, that's a thing. And it's still a thing today, but it was definitely a thing back during the Jim Crow era, which is when this story is taking place. All right. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about, because we know that Tick fought in Korea, right? He fought, and apparently he was in Florida and then he made his way back to Chicago. So the U.S., and I just pulled this straight off of Wikipedia. Let's cite our references. I knew about the American, military presence in Korea because of my time overseas and my travels, but I didn't, listen, our school system, low key, I need to go back and do some history, researching and reading. But anyways, the U.S. and South Korea, they are allies under the 1953 Mutual Defense Treaty, okay? So under that agreement, the U.S. military personnel have maintained a continuous presence on the Korean Peninsula, and they still there today. They are still there today, okay? That's still a thing. So he was there during the time when we had the war. We were fighting with Korea, and then we decided that we weren't going to fight anymore. The war didn't actually end. There was just an agreement, and like a truce was called between the warring nations at that time, and they were like, okay, we're not going to do this anymore, and so they stopped, okay? So that is that. Now, let's get into my favorite scene. First, I'm going to start with the memorable quote, okay? This is actually a part of the favorite scene. So I love the quote, "A book can't refuse you service or spit in your water glass." which was said, I think this was Atticus and Letty, they both said this. They completed the sentence, if you will. I just thought that that was funny, witty, and it was memorable. I remembered it. I was like, oh, okay, yes, truth, fact. Now the scene itself, this was I call it the White House scene, right? So they're creating their green book and people have to pee, they're tired, they're hungry. Could you imagine? I mean, my emotional reaction, I don't know. Okay, a little backstory about me. This is my first full year being back in America and being Black in America. I have been gone. I lived overseas for 3.5 years. So I think it was 3.5 years, maybe 2.5, something like that. Anyways, I had released this trauma, y'all. So to come back during this time and to be watching all these series, because now this is, it is what it is and it needs to be what is, talking about inequality and injustice is in vogue in a lot of series as of late. I know you've seen that. I'm watching Umbrella Academy right now, season 2. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. It's a thing and it needs to be. So I'm happy about that. But I am hella sensitive. I was so desensitized because you have to be Black and living in this country. You can't be sensitive about this stuff. Ooh, I'm on YouTube. I gotta watch my language. But anyways, it's the numbness. The numbness is gone. So I'm having to deal because I released my PTSD. But I was upset. I was crying. I was emotional. I was watching Umbrella Academy and getting upset. Like, I have been upset, you guys. And I didn't used to react. I didn't, because you just have that numbness if you want to survive. Okay. Talk about that in the commentary. How do you cope and how do you deal? And I want to hear from everybody. But particularly from Black people, what do you do? Because I kind of, it's horrible for me to say that I need to relearn, but I kind of do, because I was not this sensitive about inequality. It is what it is. It is what it's always been. It is what it's always going to be situation for me when I left. There was nothing to be sensitive about. It's wrong, yes, but I can't be sensitive about it because it's everywhere. Even where I was, even though American racism and inequality is a very special, hateful breed, the most hateful breed, in my opinion, in the entire world, on the entire planet. But I had to I'm still adjusting, and I'm realizing that. I'm just like, yeah, this, it's heavy. It's heavy. So anyways, I'm going off on all kind of tangents, but that's okay. They're stopping, right? Because they have to pee. They're tired. They're hungry. They've been driving for God knows how long. And it has not been safe for them to stop anywhere because they are Black and they could literally be killed if they step outside of their cars. This is the horror. I don't think I mentioned the horrors in the juxtaposition. Okay. That was that juxtaposition. The horror of being Black. Okay. The horror of being Black in America, and then the actual horror. Yeah. These are real things. Real things that, I hadn't seen that demonstrated or portrayed in this way before either. I was just like, wow, I feel it. Every Black person, we may not talk about it, but we know about it. It's in our DNA. They were able to depict that. That is so deep to me. So deep. So anyways, you're stopping because you're hungry, you're tired, you want to get something to eat. And did y'all know about the White House situation? Why the White House is white? I didn't know. Honestly, I thought about it, but to be honest with you, I'm going to be real honest. I just thought, it was a low-key shade, a low-key jab for obvious reasons, right? So when I found out the real reason, I was like, oh, that is interesting. Learn about history. It's important. So that was my favorite scene. I just thought it was the most memorable as well. And that's kind of when the horror kind of started to kind of rev up as well. And that emotional connection kind of started as well. So it was really, that was my favorite scene. When you watch it, you'll know if you haven't. And like I said, spoiler alert, if you're watching this before you watch the series, don't be mad at me. Don't be mad at me. I hope I didn't give too much away just in case, but don't be mad. All right. Let's see. We're going to move on to the prediction. Dun, dun, dun. Yes, the prediction. So here's my prediction, y'all. Dee, the junior goddess, she is such a cute, beautiful girl. Oh, I love her. I freaking love her character. But Dee, the artist, okay? She's the baby girl that drew the map, right? And she put all those characters and stuff in there to let them know, like, what to be mindful of as they're going on their journey. It takes an empath to know an empath. That child is psychic. She's an empath. She's a medium of some sort. She's connected to something. And her creativity is not just creativity. Her creativity is insight. So that's my prediction. I believe that will unfold during this series. We're going to find out more about her from a supernatural, magical perspective. That child is not just a child who loves to draw, okay? And she's creating very specific pieces. You know, like I want to know who this new character is that she drew for their road trip. Who is she really? What is that about? Okay. Because we have that whole space theme going on, which right there by itself, what Black person you know had a telescope in their house, especially in 1952? Who had a telescope and was able to identify the stars and like be like, oh, I'm going up here to watch the stars. Who has time for that? We're trying to like live and pay our bills. This was a thing in our house. Science, reading. These people are very worldly, and that's a thing. And it's very specific and very unique to this story and to these characters. And that within itself is a clue, right? I was like, a telescope? Who got what? You got time for this right now? Wow, people is trying to dodge the KKK and pay their bills. I don't have time to be looking at no stars. Are you kidding me? So that was really interesting, right? Very, very interesting. And it's encouraged and nourished in this family and in this household. And I thought it was wonderful. But I also was like, that's different. That's unique. Even for today's time. That's different, and that is low-key unique. So yeah, that's my prediction. Y'all, she's psychic. That child is psychic. We'll find out more about that later. Now, let's get into the questions. So I already asked this question, but who knew about the White House? Did you know that the White House was painted white because they had burnt down that front part of whatever it was? And I wanted to know too, because of the fashion and the glamour, whose look would you steal? I told y'all, the hair, the makeup, the costumes. I am just here for everybody's look. But whose would you steal? Oh, God, I'm so here for it. And then, let's see, George and Tick, right? They are already relatively comfortable and well-versed because of what they read, right? They're readers. So they know about vampires and all the supernatural stuff, but they know about it from this is just make-believe perspective, right? But they were able to like really problem solve when they needed to because they had that knowledge base. My thing is, would you be this comfortable in that situation? Even if you had all the insight, like they were relatively comfortable. You know what I'm talking about? They were sitting up there planning and problem solving in the midst of all of this. How comfortable would you have been? That's what I want to know. Comment below. How comfortable would you have been if one of them monsters that came after you? Okay? And also, if you had found out that everything that you thought wasn't real was real. Hunty. You was already dealing with the real life horrors of racism and inequality and BS. And now you're trying to tell me that there are some like actual monsters besides these types of monsters that exist, and I got something else to be scared for? What? No, thank you. No, ma'am. No, sir. No, thank you. No, thank you. Okay, so next question. How long before Leticia and Tick become a couple. Y'all already know what time it is. Y'all already know what time it is. They was getting comfortable and cozy in the car. They saw each other before they spoke and all this. Ooh, who is this? Ooh, who is he? Who is she? You know, they have history going back, and he's been grown up and filled out and became a man. Hell yeah. You already know what time it is. So when are they going to become a couple? But then on top of that, we got Miss South Korea. Okay, they were on the phone. So he has a boo thing, apparently. And speaking of Miss South Korea, did he superimpose her in his John Carter dream? I think he did. The queen from the John Carter dream, I think that was her. Right? So I have all these questions, right? And how is that going to work? And will she be competition for Letty when the time comes? Like, I'm just real curious. And then another question related to that is, when Chick called, because he called briefly back to South Korea, and she said to him, you shouldn't have come home. We know what she was speaking about generally, but what exactly was she talking about? What's the backstory? What go on, as they say? What is happening? I want to know. And he's a very composed person throughout even with the monsters and stuff. He was brave. He was like, okay, Letty, like, you could do this. It's okay. It's okay. But when he was on the phone with her for 0.5 seconds, he couldn't even speak. No words came out of his mouth. He had a real visceral reaction. He was tearing up and stuff and balling up. So what is going on? Okay. I want to know about that. All right. Yeah. That's it for the questions. Let's move on to our tidbits. So I have 2 tidbits, and this is the final part before we say farewell, before we say adieu until the next episode. Ow. So anyways, first, just so y'all know, them vampire pig creatures with the eyes and the blobs and stuff that came out the woods, and they was burrowing in the ground and all that stuff, and they started flying, and they were sensitive to light, them things, that's called a shaga. Okay, that's what they're called. And there's this whole infrastructure and world of monsters that we're going to be getting into. I have some videos that I'm going to be watching to learn more about the monsters, to have more insight myself. But yeah, these some creatures, some creatures. Okay, that's what they're called, shagas. Then the last little tidbit that I wanted to say, because I just thought this was so interesting when I was creating my notes. So there is this very special subset of white New York males who are able to channel other people's stories. And I am a New Yorker. New York is my home, my spirit home. My born home is Oakland, California. Shout out, okay? But I am a New Yorker. I lived in New York prior to moving overseas. So anyways, it's a very like offbeat kind of subset. And if you're a New Yorker, then you know what I'm talking about. Maybe if you're not, then you know what I'm talking about. It's like a distinct kind of thing going on. But anyways, they're able to channel different people's stories, including people of color, in a way that is authentic and not appropriated. Okay? And not a like Uncle Tom, butt kissing, make you mad. They just know. They just understand. They understand. They resonate. They're able to get into the hearts, minds, spirits, souls, and speak to these things, even though they're not of the culture. It's really, really interesting. And that is what we are experiencing with this story and with this series. And I want to say, in all fairness, I have not listened to the novel yet, but it's going to be my next Audible, which is going to be in about a week. So I already have it queued up on my wish list. I don't know how much of a deviation from the story, from the novel itself this is, but from what little research I did in terms of that, it seems to be, they're mirroring something. So the author of this book, he channeled something. Okay. And I'm going to give you another example and another, audiobook that I highly recommend. It was my favorite Audible listen of the year by far. I laughed so much. I'm actually probably going to re-listen to both books at the end of the year again because I had so much fun with them. And those are the Andrea Vernon books by author Alexander C. Kane. Okay. I was so surprised when I found out he wasn't of color either and that he was a white man. But the main character, Andrea Vernon in that series, she is a Black Haitian American woman. And I never identified with a character in the book as much as I identified with her. I was like, her life experience living overseas and doing all this stuff and like being educated, but still getting her shit together, y'all. Like, ooh, I have to watch my language. YouTube is going to give me problems. I might have to go back and edit this. Oh God. Anyways, like y'all, like I was like, how does he know? I don't know him. Who this Harpo? How does he know? But he knows. And I feel the same way about this writer of Lovecraft. So if you thought that Lovecraft was written by a Black person, today's tidbit is it wasn't. Okay? It wasn't. So don't judge a book by its cover, as they say. All right? I was really intrigued by that. And I was just like, oh, that's interesting. Very, very interesting. And just like, oh, I love it. So we live in this world where people refuse to connect or they act like they can't resonate. I'm here to say, these two men who are, air quotes, a part of what we consider to be the system, if you will, in a way. No, they're representatives and they're like, no, we're not. Or they're at least saying that it is possible to understand someone else's story and understand someone else's perspective in a very intimate and accurate way. It's possible. They are proof of that because there is no way that they could write these stories in the way that they have without being able to do that. No way. No way. So I just wanted to give y'all that tidbit. And yeah, we're going to stop there. So, since this is a horror themed series, comment with a ghost emoji below. Okay. Give me a little ghost spooky. At least give me a ghost emoji. Type it into your computer, your phone, your tablet, whatever. Give me a ghost emoji to let me know you made it all the way through. And like this video, subscribe. Okay, I'll be back with the next one for episode 2. Tell me what you think in terms of the questions. I asked y'all a lot of questions like a teacher. Y'all are my students. Go back and listen. What do you think? Okay. I'm especially curious about what people have to say about Miss South Korea. Okay. And that little love triangle situation. Follow me on Instagram. And once again, it's @glampowered. Okay. And my next Audible listen will be here in about a week, like I said. So you already know what time it is. I have Lovecraft wish listed and I cannot wait to listen to it and give you guys more comparisons and tidbits and more depth and insight into the series itself. Until next time, guys, stay blessed, not stressed.